Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm an addict. My name is Rob. Hi. It's the policy of the convention to read from the information pamphlet number 2 under the heading of the speaker. The NA member chosen to speak at a meeting needs to be someone who is working and living the NA program of recovery, which is the 12 steps and 12 traditions. In areas where there is not an abundance of NA members with substantial clean time or experience with the 12 steps and 12 traditions, there is a possibility that a group inexperienced in Narcotics Anonymous may misunderstand NA traditions and invite speakers from outside the NA fellowship. There are several ways to avoid this situation. Our basic text, for instance, reminds us that NA members from other areas are willing to drive long distances to support new groups. The speaker helps fulfill the group's primary purpose, carrying the message of recovery to the addict who still suffers. When speaking at an NA meeting, we should be careful to deliver a clear message of recovery by identifying ourselves as addicts recovering from the disease of addiction. It is not necessary to dwell excessively on our active addiction or war stories because we all know what it was like to use. We came to Narcotics Anonymous to stop using, and we are here to share our experience, strength, and hope of recovery. First and foremost, right, I want to thank God for another day clean. I want to thank God for waking me up this morning and giving me another shot at this thing he delivered me to called Narcotics Anonymous. And I want to thank you people for showing me how to maintain the gift on a just-for-the-day basis. I'm nervous as shit. I am. And I need to say this, right? Like, this ain't the first time, in my area. I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm asked to share, different places, and I always get nervous at this. Always. It always makes me nervous. I had to, I done farted about 3 times since I've been standing here. I did. I went to the bathroom because I thought I had to, do a number 2 at first. But I didn't, because I got nervous. I really did. That's how nervous I'll be when I get up here. Because I know that this is a God-given program. This God's message. This ain't nobody's message. I need to say this right. Right now, ain't no star. God's the star of this show. You know what I mean? It's one and only star of this program, and that's God. I'm just a messenger. I want to read something to you, right? I'm a literature person. I believe in the literature. And I might not believe a whole, sometimes I have a tendency not to believe what I might hear somebody say in a meeting, but I believe the book. I believe the books. The first thing I want to read is on page 18 in the basic text. At the bottom of the page, the last paragraph says, these are some of the questions we have to ask ourselves. Are we sure we want to stop using? Do we understand that we have no real control over drugs? Do we recognize that in the long run we didn't use drugs, they used us? The jails and institutions take over the management of our lives at different times. Do we fully accept the fact that our every attempt to stop using or control our using failed? Do we know that our addiction changed us into someone we didn't want to be? Dishonest, deceitful, self-willed, people at odds with ourselves and our fellow man. Do we really believe that we have failed as drug users? I came to Narcotics Anonymous in 1982 for the first time. The first time I got to Narcotics Anonymous was the end of 1982. I celebrated 4 years clean August the 1st. For 15 years, I went in and out this process, right? Because I had read that countless times, but I really didn't believe that I had failed as a drug user. I didn't. I really did not conceive to my innermost self that drugs had the power to change me into something I didn't want to be. The caption talks about people at odds with themselves. I had been at odds with myself for so many years, and I really, really did not want to accept the fact that I was an addict. So for 15 years, I went in and out of this process, and I need to say, relapse is not a requirement in this fellowship, but it's been my reality. It's part of my story. If you're here for the first time and you're new, stay your ass here, because it's harder to get clean the second time than it is to stay clean the first time. Right. I don't care what's going on in your life. Using don't do nothing but make shit worse, and that's been my experience. I came back to Narcotics Anonymous through the grace of God and the prayers of you people in the fellowship. And I need to say that when I got back here, this time I was willing to do something different that I had never done before. Like throughout the years of coming here, I always heard him talking about getting a sponsor, taking the steps. From a personal point of view, I didn't want to get no sponsor because I didn't want nobody in my business. You know what I mean? Like, I suffer from a disease that tell me all kind of stuff. Nigga just want to get in your business, borrow some money from you. I had never encountered anybody that wanted to help me or be close to me without a condition. So the sponsorship thing was right out the window. Y'all talked about getting involved with a home group. I wasn't with it. I wasn't. I don't know about nobody else, but you know what? It's come along with having a disease of addiction that we be 007 secret agent James Bond type characters. You know what I'm talking about? In an active addiction, and we talking about when you get clean, it's even worse. It's even worse. But when I got back here this time, I asked the guy to sponsor me, right? And he said, we work the steps. We write on them, we read them, we read them for a certain amount of time, we write on them, and then we share them collectively throughout our sponsee family. You know what I mean? We give back what we learned about the step. And I need to tell you, the candle was so far up under my ass this time when I got back, I was willing to do something different. I was willing to do something different. So this time when I got back, we started with the first step. And I need to say this, right? I really need to say this, right? If no steps, no peace. You know, I've learned that through a hard-won experience, right? That I'm crazy. I'm out my mind, start raving mad. This ain't nothing but an open psych ward. For real. We come here to get med up. I come here to get medicated up so I don't go out there and run over some poor, helpless individual in my car because they won't get out the way. You know what I mean? And that's why I come here. You know what I mean? I need to say this, right? Like, I really started to find out what the disease of addiction was without a chemical. You know, I need to tell you that I really started to get in touch with how crazy I was after I stopped pushing and scraping. You know what I'm saying? I really started to find out. I thank God for the step process because it balances me out. You know what I mean? It balances me out. It keeps me from going completely out my mind. You know what I'm saying? That's what it helps me do. Some real strange things happen when the coke go away. I'm serious. We talking about, and the topic is, feelings. When I first got clean, right? The book talk about we suffer the pain of withdrawal or we go back to using. And we ain't talking about the withdrawal of being dope sick, or we ain't talking about the withdrawal of psychological withdrawal or wanting one more rock. We talking about the psychological, we talking about the withdrawal that happened after you put the coke down and you feel like you lost your best friend. We talking about the mourning process. We talking about how after you stop getting high, and ain't no determined amount of time on how it happened for me, because I was walking around here maybe with a year clean, still with the black suit on, with the mourning process, because they had took my coke away. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about mourning. I had a love affair with chemicals like I had never had in my life. We talking about a going with the wind type thing, Scarlet and Red O'Hara. That's how much I love getting high. And when you took it away from me and told me that I couldn't do it no more, some real terrible things started to happen to me. It did. I don't know about nobody else, right? But one of the most profound things that happened to me after I stopped getting high was I wanted to eat up everything. I don't know about nobody else, right? But I need to tell you, when it came to getting high, I'd be sitting in one of them old houses for 3 and 4 days or a week at a time. And I'm not the kind of guy to get the bright idea when I'm getting high that says, well, why don't you go to a Chinese restaurant and get you a couple chicken wings? I don't get those kind of thoughts. I don't. Once I'm locked in, I'm like strapped in an electric chair. I'm in for the whole ride. I go in the crack house weighing 175 and come out weighing 150 because I can't get out. So one of the first things that started happening was I started eating up everything. Trying to eat them feelings away. We talking about trying to eat the withdrawal process away. So I justified it in the name of not eating when I was getting high. So now you can eat the whole chicken. Eat it all. You know what I mean? And as I started eating, I started watching my weight go up. And a lot of us struggle with that. We gained a little weight here. And, then the next part of it for me was the shopping. I don't know about nobody else, but I got this thing. We get skits in more ways than smoking crack. I'd be in a department store like, somebody in my way. You know what I mean? I got to have one more, y'all know, look, I got to have one more pair of shoes. One little old lady getting away or something. Excuse me, miss, you're in the perimeter. You got to get out the way. Going through the whole department store, carting up everything, take it up to the counter. We talking about suffering the pain of withdrawal or go back to using. Newer person, don't be discouraged by what I'm saying, because we all go through it. I don't believe it. If you're sitting in here, you've been through it. The third thing for me was the sex. sex. I don't know about nobody else. You know, we all got our own personal stories and personal experiences. When I was getting high, sex was not on the agenda.
Okay.
I need to tell you, my penis was about this big. I couldn't find it. I ain't want to be bothered, you know, with none of that. I didn't. And after you get clean for a little while, stuff started popping out. I was like, oh my God. I hadn't seen him in so long that when he came out, my head said, oh, you need to share that. We keep what we have by giving it away. You need to share it with everybody you can. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about we suffer the pain of withdrawal and we go back to using. We suffer the pain of the feelings we go through, the withdrawal process that we go back to using. You know what I mean? It's a hell of a thing to be an egomaniac and suffer from extremely low self-esteem and low self-image of oneself, trapped all in one body. You know what I mean? On one minute, you all that. On the next minute, you know what I mean? Like that little thing that used to be on the Smurfs. Oh, God, it's not going to work. You know, always looking at like, I can't do it. It's not going to work. That's a hell of a thing to accept that there's two parts of you. You know what I mean? After you get clean for a while, you really be in trouble. Because your ego and your pride show up after you be clean for a little while. I know mine did. I started to look in the mirror after I had about 2 years clean, and I would be like this. Maybe that wasn't you. Maybe they made a mistake. That wasn't you. That wasn't you that crawled through your mother's house like you had instructions from the general. You know what I mean? I don't know about nobody else, but I would get instructions. I ain't make no decisions after I started getting high. The dope made all the decisions. It would call me literally in my head and say, your mission, if you choose to accept it, break in your own mother's house. I'm serious. Break in your own mother's house. Go in by way of the basement. Mind you, I ain't never been in the military in my life, but I would go through like this. G.I. Joe, the Army Green Beret Man, and get a VCR out. You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. I would get those kind of suggestions and I would get those kind of commands when I was using. Man, look. Suffer the pain of withdrawal and we go back to using. And you know what? Your ego and your pride, they part of us. And those are things that I've learned to accept about myself. And I ask you people to always help me keep them in check. You know what I mean? It's a hell of a thing how you can get clean for a while and your head will be big as one of them parade floats around here. Thank God for sponsorship and Sponsee family because they helped me deflate my head. I got 4 years clean and my ego got about 15. You know what I mean? For real, my ego got 15, 20 years clean. Man, look. I am so grateful to have been led to a program where people are just like me, because all my life I always felt indifferent, like I never belonged, like I never fit in anywhere. You know what I mean? Like I've never fit in anywhere. God brought me to Narcotics Anonymous. You know, he brought me to Narcotics Anonymous, and that's where I come. I don't knock, or I don't have really anything to say about any other way people get clean. I know what worked for me. Narcotics Anonymous worked for me when nothing else would work for me. Because I don't ever want to feel like I felt of September or, no, July of 1997. You know, I don't ever, it's some things that keeps me clean today. You know, I don't ever want my daughter to wake up on Christmas morning again and look at me and say, Daddy, you stole my dresses last night. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to experience that again. So I stay in this process. I stay with no matter what I feel. You know what I mean? I have learned from you people that I need to stay plugged in. I constantly stay plugged in because I got high about my feelings a lot. I don't know about nobody else, right? But all my life, I always thought I was too fat. Anybody can identify with that? When I was little, I wanted to be the cartoon characters on the TV. And then at the end of the road, I wanted to be just the person next door so I didn't have to be in my own skin. You know what I mean? I wanted to be anything other than me. Yeah, I mean it. I never wanted to be, I never liked who I was, you know, growing up. And you know, it's a funny thing, right? We get here and the same feelings that we got high about come back without our permission after you get clean. You know, some stuff that we call them the boogaboos in the book, they start haunting you. You know what I mean? Those are the kind of things that start haunting you. I start remembering the worst thing I did, like about my mom. That bothered me. That's why sponsorship is so important in this process. You ain't got to dance with everybody in here because some of us have a tendency to step on each other's feet, but you better find somebody in here to dance with. Because this is not a program where you dance by yourself. I danced by myself for 15 years, and every time the music in my head would say, you could get one more. You could get one more. I know the nature of the disease of addiction is to separate you from everything that's good in your life. Primarily the people that'll help you get where you at today. It'll separate you. It'll tell me that, I don't know about nobody else, but dig this, all my life I've always been a user. After I get what I can get from you, then off with your head. I don't want to be bothered with you no more. I got what I can get from you. I tried that in Narcotics Anonymous, and my clean date changed. Kept changing over and over and over because I still wanted to be James Bond, 007. That's my hero. That's been my hero all my life. The secret agent, the covert mission. I'm serious. That's been my hero all my life. But I found out a lot of the opposite of what I believe or my belief system was years ago or what I grew up with. The Narcotics Anonymous program and the spiritual principles we talk about here are the complete opposite of what I've always believed. I struggled with it for a long time because I practiced voodoo a lot of years out of my life. I was a con man for 25 years. Traveled all over the country playing 3-card Molly and selling people slum jewelry and all that old kind of shit. That's voodoo. You know what I mean? Selling your stuff out your house for a lower price than what you paid for is practicing voodoo. Literally, that's the literal voodoo. And when I got here, right, I thought that y'all was chumps. Y'all wasn't gonna be able to help me because the people I was getting high with wasn't none of them here. It wasn't none of them here, so it was real hard for me to identify with it. But you know what? After the clean day changed enough, Jeffrey, I was willing to do something different. I really was. I thank God that God put the guy in my life that sponsors me today. Dig this. You got to have somebody to be able to tell it to. You got to have somebody to be able to tell it to. Because I need to tell you, right, I thought I was hitting bottoms when I was smoking crack.
Come on.
But my bottoms has happened clean. We talk about clean. I done hit more bottoms without I used to break my TV antenna off. I like to smoke out the TV antenna. You know what I mean? I done hit more bottoms since I put the TV antenna down than I ever did when I was using. Because when I was using, it was one thing. One track. Straight there, come back. Straight there, come back. It wasn't a whole lot in between all of that. It wasn't. But since I've been clean, I'm really talking about survive. You talking about facing the feelings? Man, look. Relationships. Let's get to it. You know what addicts, right? They want the juice. They want the juice. Dig this. I don't know about nobody else, right? But I swear for God, I'm somewhere in my life I ain't never been before. I ain't never been able to handle a relationship. I cheat on myself. So you know where you fit in at. Yeah, I've cheated on myself all my life, so you know where you fit in at. This relationship stuff. Letting your guards down, feeling vulnerable, accepting the feelings of feeling vulnerable and being okay with it. Not having another hole to go in. You know what I mean? My thing is the rear window story. I always got another hole to go in, always. The program of Narcotics Anonymous talks about teaching me how to do something different. You know what I mean? It talks about teaching me how to do something different. And what I have learned is that we do recover. We get better. But along the process of getting better, let me tell you a little bit about my relationship. My sponsors, they laughing because they know I call them all the way from Philadelphia. Let me tell you, man, I don't know about nobody else, but when you start to get too close to me, I gotta get my head say you gotta get them away from you. You know what I mean? When I start to feel something for you that I've never felt in my life before, my head say you gotta get them away from you. Thanks, Charles. You got to get them away from you because they want something from you. You know what I mean? If I disliked or had a deep-seated self-loathing for myself, you can imagine what I've had for you, especially when you start to get close to me. I don't know about nobody else, right? But I always got to have a fucking project to work on. You know what I'm saying? I've always got to have somebody I got to fix up. You know what I'm talking about? Can anybody relate to that? I'm talking about, I give me SSI, patch on the eye, prosthesis. I always got to have something to make my ego, to stroke my ego, like I got to work on you. You know what I mean? And my story has been one of them, get the little 90-day wonders, fix them up, take them home, but we ain't talking about looking at my own issues, though. We talking about looking at my own issues. Dig this. Come on. You ever want to shot a cock and end up in a relationship, somebody moving with you? All I really wanted to do was hit. That's all. But because of my low self-esteem and low self-image, I won't be honest. Once again, James Bond. Din, 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 on the mission. Don't want to tell nobody. Don't want to be honest. Because we will go to any and all lengths not to hear no. No. No ain't a good word for an addict. No, you can't. No, it won't work. No, you can't. You know what I mean? So I end up lying, falsifying, false documentation. Look, dig this. All I really wanted to do, I found you attractive. Maybe we could do a little something. I looked up 6 months later, and she was living in my house. That's all. I'm telling you, all I really wanted to do. I feel like I gotta go above and beyond the call of duty. Well, maybe you need a little car to ride around in. All I wanted was a hit. That's all. Well, let's do a joint bank account. And I don't really want knowing in the store buying engagement rings, knowing you ain't gonna marry nobody. Still lying. Still living in illusion. Falsifying stuff. You know what I mean? Not being true to yourself. Look. And underneath all of that, underneath all of that, I found out from my own experiences fear. A lot of things are permeated from the inside, the fear that Rob have inside. You know what I mean? Sometimes we tend to stay in relationships past the expiration date, knowing it's over. You know what I mean? Knowing it's over, we still want to hold on. Then it would still be that self-centered part of you that, I don't want to see it with nobody else. I don't want to, but I don't want to see it with nobody else, especially another one of them addicts. You know what I mean? I don't want to see it with nobody else, so it still continue to hold on. You know what I'm saying? Still continue to hold on. Dig this, man. Let me tell you, I have been locked up clean. Restraining orders. This happened about a month ago, a little more than a month ago in my relationship. We home, and I get them fixer-uppers, man. You know what I mean? I gotta fix them up, and they ain't got nothing when I first get them, so I get them and keep them for a little while, and then after that I start looking at them like, well, when you gonna pay some bills? When you gonna get yourself together? When you gonna start doing something? And when they don't do it, I start to get resentful. I start resenting it. So I'm dig this. She finally got a little job and everything was going okay. She made me a promise, Jeffrey. She said, I've been blessed. I'm blessed in this process. I was able to buy a house. And I had been paying the mortgage the whole time we was in there. I was so grateful to hear her talking about, I'm gonna take over the mortgage for a couple months or whatever. I felt like, oh God, okay. But the addict, one is too many and 1,000 ain't enough. She made another decision like we do in the third step to buy a car instead of paying that mortgage, Jeffrey. And I don't know about nobody else, right? I got another thing I suffer from is a problem of speaking up for myself. Like the Rock of Gibraltar, I can just have you walk all over me and I can just have you do stuff I really don't like and don't say nothing. Walking around here like Gandhi. You know what I mean? Won't even speak up for myself, so I ain't say nothing. I walked around about 3 days. Ain't said nothing, all twisted up like a sun-kissed lemon. I ain't saying nothing. You ain't saying nothing. And I don't know about nobody else. I'm gonna punish you. You live with somebody, you want to punish me, y'all walk around not saying nothing to each other. You sleep in this room, I'm sleeping in that room. You know what I mean? So I walk around 3 days, don't say nothing. And I don't know about nobody else, right? I come up in the 70s, the black experience, the black exploitation, Superfly and the Mac and all that. And them two guys on my shoulders, Ego and Price said, you know what? She ain't got your money, man. Who he talking to? She ain't got your money, man. You know you ain't going for that. You ain't got to settle for that. She better have your money. I started hearing that old Goldie music. Brothers gonna work it out. Brothers gonna work it out. And I'm going home, right? I'm going home. I got all this stuff. I'm all hyped up. I said, you know what? And then the last little one, the one with the real big mouth, said, you need to slap her on her face, man. She ain't got your paper right. Go home, don't say nothing. We talking in the bed. You sleep in the bed with the brick wall. And who many people got brick walls in their bed? You on one side, I'm on another side. Don't touch me. She touched me, got up, jumped up. Well, look, we ain't got to go on slap in the face, man. I need to keep my hands off people. I slapped that girl and got my fat ass whipped. Look, I kid you not, when it was all midway crisis through it, my big ass was up under the dresser. This big country girl jumped on me. I'm up under the dresser hoping to God, take my life in my will and don't let this motherfucker cut me open, please. Sunday morning, police come. I jump up. I gotta give it all to you now. When I get from underneath the dresser, I surrender. You know what? No, I'm all right with acceptance, but the surrender give me problems sometimes. Yeah, I jump up, okay, you ain't gonna do what I said? I know what to do. I run downstairs, I'm gonna get my little piece of gun. Yeah, she got 2 cats in the basement. All right, you ain't gonna do, I know what to do. Grab the cats, duct tape them. I kill them cats. You know what I mean? She dialed 911, police there. Where the gun? I couldn't even remember where the gun was. I couldn't find it, thank God they couldn't find it. They said, well, look, maybe y'all need to go get them protection orders and y'all need to separate Sunday morning for the 10 o'clock Sunday morning meeting, Narcotics Anonymous meeting. We running down to the place to get protection orders. I go down there, talking about Mr. Magistrate, you know, it ain't working out and, you know, this is happening. And he said, well, Mr. Gladney don't want no protection order. She said one word about that gun and they gave it to her. And I'm sitting there on 22nd and Washington Avenue Sunday morning with Jesus Christ. They done put me out my house. You know, all I done work for, Jeff. I'm sitting there. Finally, I had to surrender. Thank God, surrender. Man, look, we talking about clean. We talking about clean. You know, I thank God for the step process, right? Because it balances me out. It does. We talking about facing the feelings. I had about 2 years clean, right? And I hadn't done nothing. I was doing good. I was all right. A couple friends of mine said, boy, my buddy of mine on a gas station back in Philly, he said, man, you want a little part-time joint? You can make your own hours. You can do this, you can do 6 and 7 step. I said, yeah, okay. Got the stealing. Hadn't done that. We talking about the feelings, though. Got the stealing. Couldn't stop stealing. Call my sponsor, get my support group. They call it, get your hand off the cash register. Couldn't stop. Still trying to fill the void, man. Still trying to avoid facing the feelings. You know what I'm saying? Man, look. But I ain't used. I ain't cop. Under any and all circumstances, I did not cop. I thank God for you people in Narcotics Anonymous because you've shown me and you continue to show me how to live this program on a day-to-day basis. You know, I know from the looks of it, it's time for me to be quiet, right? Huh? Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is. It's all right. We share the time. Part of sharing is sharing the time. I want to say this one thing and I'm going to close, right? Dig this. I found this book. Stay with me now. I found this book. And it gave me multiple orgasms. It did. It gave me multiple orgasms. And I keep coming, and I keep coming, and I keep coming. Thanks for letting me share. Give me some money. Go ahead, baby.
Do we each need to read it? I'm Angela and I'm Natty. God. I love him. Shit. I'm grateful to be at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Just for the day. I ain't always grateful, I need to say that. Damn, man, he just came in this motherfucker and just kicked the door in, didn't he? I was like, damn. Mouth open and shit. I'm like, oh. Does every speaker, do we do this again? Okay. All right. The speaker. The NA member chosen to speak at a meeting needs to be someone who's working and living the NA program of recovery, which is the 12 steps and 12 traditions. In areas where there is not an abundance of NA members with substantial clean time or experience with the 12 steps and traditions, there is the possibility that a group inexperienced in Narcotics Anonymous may misunderstand NA traditions and invite speakers from outside the NA fellowship. There are several ways to avoid this situation. Our basic text, for instance, reminds us that NA members from other areas are willing to drive long distances to support new groups. The speaker helps fulfill the group's primary purpose, carrying a message of recovery to the addict who still suffers. When speaking at an NA meeting, we should be careful to deliver a clear message of recovery by identifying ourselves as addicts recovering from the disease of addiction. It's not necessary to dwell excessively on our active addiction or war stories because we all know what it was like to use. We came to Narcotics Anonymous to stop using, and we're here to share our experience, strength, and hope of recovery. Okay, facing the feelings. I need to say, like, when I was like using, I couldn't like deal with no feelings. That was part of my motivation for using. Like by the time I was 15 years old, I didn't have no mom, I didn't have no daddy, and it was like I had the biggest resentment with God because I was like, what have I done to deserve this? You know what I mean? And I need to say in my recovery process, I done had them experiences and those feelings, you know, about having resentment with God. And I share this, you know, whenever I get the opportunity to, because it's important to me that like we be honest with each other. You know what I'm saying? That we call each other on our behavior. Because when we don't, and addicts are somewhere around literally dying to hear the truth, you know, it's our responsibility to like tell each other the truth. Because I got somebody that I really love and I care about that we didn't tell the truth to. And as a result, you know, they ain't here no more. And I don't mean they incarcerated or nothing like that, they dead. You know what I'm saying? And then they struggle like getting clean. They went in and out and in and out. And a lot of times when he came back, I was so glad to see him that I didn't say, man, that bullshit you doing gonna kill you. I was just so glad to see him and have him in my presence that I didn't get around to saying that. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's important to me to say that, that no addict need die from the horrors of addiction. You know what I'm saying? So if ain't nobody told you just for the day, you never have to use again. You know that if we use, that we gonna die. I think every member of Narcotics Anonymous got a message. You know what I'm saying? And I think that I share this everywhere I go so that that'll be true for him. That he got a message. That if we continue to use, that we'll die. I need to say that in this process, I have been confronted with feelings about myself that I haven't really liked. As a matter of fact, I found out that it was some part of me that hated me. That was the thing that assisted me in continuing into like perpetuating my disease. The things that I did, and I'm not talking about like actively using dope. I'm talking about in the process of recovery where having a feeling that drove me to make a decision about my life that would affect the rest of my life. Because I wasn't so sure that I was going to be able to like live through the feelings. Because sometimes I was in so much pain or I was so afraid that I made a decision that affected me. I made a decision 7 years ago that still affects me today. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I ain't got no control no more. You know what I'm saying? The feeling that frightens me the most is that feeling of being out of control. Where I lose my power to choose in the process. You know what I'm saying? When I get so consumed with an idea or a notion or a belief that I just throw caution to the wind and I just do whatever I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I make decisions about shit, and it don't be my diseased mind. It be my recovery mind saying, go ahead and fuck them. Go ahead and give them some. And the feelings of guilt and shame, when they come up, apply some principles to that shit. That ain't my diseased mind. That's my fucking recovery mind. Because I believe that I can stay clean through anything. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that shit, yeah, the guilt and the shame will show up, but it don't show up immediately. It show up about time 8. The 8th nigga I done went to bed with. You know what I'm saying? The 8th gal I done got with. You know? That kind of shit. And I believe I can stay clean through that shit. You know what I'm saying? But the feelings of guilt and shame and remorse be so overwhelming. And that's the shit that make me go do it again. And do it again. And do it again. Because it's like all I want to do is like stop the pain. I want to stop it at all costs. And sometimes like when I be wanting a hug, I wind up in the book. And all I wanted was some attention and affection. You know what I mean? I'm the girl that'll go all the way. You know, I'll go all the way and just be assuming a position, talking that shit, and wind up bent over. And then like, damn, come out of it, not having gotten any attention, not having gotten any affection. You know what I'm saying? Damn, just like the 4th step talks about trying to extract a feeling from an unwilling participant. You know what I'm saying? And all the time in my relationships, a lot of times the motherfucker was unwilling and came to me with it saying, I just want to hit. And I be like, well, I got that shit. I gave some pussy, you know what I'm saying? And shit, afterwards, you're gonna love me. Because that shit be so good sometimes it confuse me. You know what I'm saying? I be confused about shit. I be thinking that because you made me feel good, that you love me. Because for so long, that's what I equated love to. You know what I'm saying? I had this like contorted belief that like if you made me come, that it was some kind of emotional attachment with that shit. And it ain't. That shit is physical. But I'm talking about I've been so physically driven all my life that I just be losing sight of what's real and what matter. You know what I'm saying? The work that I had to do, you know, I had to like do what I was doing until that shit hurt. Nobody could tell me, you know, it's time to stop. You need to get some help. You know what I'm saying? I had to do it till that shit had me bent over, broke down like a shotgun. And even then, when the pain subsided, I went back for some more. You know what I'm saying? Because all I knew to do was like put some more shit on top of it. I wasn't willing to do the work that was involved with just like healing. And it's like, that might take too much time. You know what I'm saying? You were talking about suffer the pain of withdrawal or go back to use. And see, I was never clear about like the whole process. I wasn't sure whether the going back to using was going to be more painful than suffering the withdrawal symptoms. I didn't want to go through the whole process. I wanted the shit to be instant. You know what I'm saying? And I need to say that in this process I found out that like prayer wasn't a quick fix. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and I found out that like I gotta just pray for God's will in my life. Because if I start praying, because see, that's how I fucked around and got with my husband. It's like I prayed for his ass. You know what I'm saying? And then I can remember somebody saying, you know, you better slow your roll, sister, because you're gonna fuck around and cross a plane and you're gonna get out there, and when you wanna come back, you ain't gonna be able to. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about being in the grip, clean. Having worked the first, second, and third step, but at some point along the way, you know, the God of my understanding changed. And you know, I don't want to be honest about that shit, that everything that I ever did was like in an effort to like please him. You know, or extract that feeling, you know what I'm saying? Something that somebody wasn't willing to give me. You know what I'm saying? I expected that somebody else would give me things that I wasn't willing to give to me. I wanted him to love me in a way that I haven't even learned how to love myself. You know what I'm saying? I was struggling with the feelings of being inadequate and not worthy. So I had to look for something outside myself to validate me. You know, so everything I did was in an effort to like please somebody else. And what I found out like really when I surrendered again in a first step was that like I need to like look on the inside. You know what I'm saying? It was like 6 years clean, I started being able to look in the mirror at myself because I would just pass by and I wanted to see like only the outside. I wanted to see how the clothes looked and shit, but I didn't want to see what was really in there. You know what I'm saying? That I was like scared, and like fear immobilized me. It didn't like get me wanting to do no work. I got scared, I folded up, and I just lived my life by default. Shit just happened around me as a direct result of not being willing to like face the feelings. I wasn't willing to like apply the principles to my life. I was so consumed with what is he gonna do or what is she gonna do or what are they gonna think and all that kind of shit. I didn't have any desire to practice the principle of courage. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have any desire to like practice the principle of like self-acceptance. I believed, some part of me had to believe that if you didn't accept me, that then I wasn't worthy. When the thing was like, I didn't accept me, you know, I didn't love me. I didn't believe it when the literature talked about we practice self-loathing. I had to define that shit. What does that shit mean? It means hate. It meant I hated myself. And based on the behavior that I was participating in, it was true. And to have to like look at that for real, that I'm walking around here saying like, telling other people I love you. You know what I'm saying? I love you. But I don't love me. And I'm talking about forgetting about the decision that I made like 7 years ago that I was going to be faithful to myself, that I was going to be true to myself for a change. You know, I got fucked up with, you know, like with somebody, with my husband's behavior, and so I started acting out. You know what I'm saying? But let me say, I started acting out before I knew he was acting out. So that shit really didn't have nothing to do with him. It was about, like, me not being able to, like, accept who I was fully. Damn. Me and all of my little character flaws and all that shit. You know, and I would tell my sponsor that I loved her with her flaws. How? And I didn't even love myself. You know what I mean? And I mean, everything I did, I didn't find out until like 3 years ago that when I said yes and I really meant no, I was a lying motherfucker. That I wasn't practicing the first step in my life. I was practicing dishonesty. But it was so important to me that you be pleased with my behavior or whatever it is I was doing. Let me just say that whenever I would start to practice my disease, and let me say not about no dope. And let me just clear this up. I'm not saying that it ain't about the dope, because if any of us use, we know what it is. Right. But I'm talking about having a clear understanding that the disease of addiction is not about dope. That it's about like all the other shit that I participate in. When I find myself like obsessing about different shit like the men, the money, the gambling, damn, all that kind of shit that drives me physically, that I think might instantly satisfy some need or desire that I think I have. Because I ain't even knowing for sure if I really got it yet. The need, or now I know it ain't no need, because all of my needs are being met. Some of my wants are being met. You know what I'm saying? But shit, I be like, come on now. I be wanting right now, and I be like, okay. I be getting excited, and I be thinking of a plan and shit. Boy. But I know, like, self-acceptance, my sponsor used to constantly assign me to have to like read that IP. Self-acceptance, self-acceptance, self-acceptance. And I couldn't get with it. I thought that I was okay with who I was, but like my behavior showed me that I wasn't. Because I would lie to myself, I would lie to you. You know what I'm saying? When I really didn't want to go, I would be thinking, what in the fuck could I tell them to keep from having to go? You know, instead of just saying, I don't want to go. I don't want to. I love you. Yeah, baby. Sure. And I'd be like, just cringing on the inside because I didn't really want to. Oh, man, it took me back to like when I would want to get high really bad. And I wouldn't have no money, and I wouldn't have nothing in the house to pawn, you know what I'm saying? So I knew at that time it was time to like trick, you know what I'm saying? So I would just go where the dope boys was and be like, I was still thinking I was crafty and shit, asking the dudes on the strip who served them so I could go get with him so I could get more, you know what I'm saying? But when I start to feel like that in this process, it's some work that have to be done. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about on a deep, deep level. The feelings like today that I gotta be dealing with is like having an understanding that every time that I'm trying to get up in somebody's face, it ain't because I got issues with lust. It be because I be lonely. And I think based on my history that in order to have some companionship, I gotta do that other shit. You know what I'm saying? I gotta like, kiss a nigga ass or some shit, you know what I mean? I got to give him some head or some shit, you know, just to get some attention or just to get some affection. And damn, but what I'm finding, let me say, is that I got some men in my life that I ain't fucking, you know what I'm saying, that love on me, that even respect me. And that is a stretch for my imagination, because I be like, what? You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me not to go there, because I leave and I go, especially when I'm not feeling good about myself, because I be thinking for so long I ain't nothing but something to come in. And because I have lived in that belief for so long, I believe that that's what I gotta do to like, cause see, I feel like that's something I know how to do. I don't know how to be nobody's friend. I don't know how to do that because I ain't never had enough of myself to keep it real in no friendship. One of the last people I slept with when I was getting high got a child by my best friend. And I was like, what you talking about? He wasn't over here. And I wonder why I come up in this room and I got issues with like the women in the rooms. You know what I'm saying? Because I got to like deal with the feelings of not being trustworthy myself. You know what I'm saying? When I'm walking around here and I got issues with trust and I'm pointing fingers and I'm gauging how they shit going, it's because all that shit I'm seeing in you, I got in me. And I know what I'm subject to do if you leave me in the house with your motherfucking husband. And that's the motherfucker I am. The nigga wasn't at home when I got there, so I took his brother. That's, you know? But it's all about having those issues and knowing that, like, my first experience with abandonment, like, wasn't with my family. And it wasn't mama put in the beans. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't have, like, pinto beans, macaroni and cheese, and fried chicken. We had pinto beans and macaroni and cheese and boiling meat. You know what I mean? So it's like, I had a buddy, you know what I'm saying? And her job was supposed to like broaden my horizons, right? So I'm in the 2nd grade and my mama done struggled to like give me a couple of dollars to go to McDonald's and to Centennial Park, you know what I'm saying? And go through the damn museum, Parthenon and shit. So I can remember standing in the window at Sibling Park School waiting on this bitch to come. And I